Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here are the headlines of this hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds talks with the visiting Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. Trade, regional security and connectivity are the top agenda. Several pacts expected to be signed. Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan calls for coordination and balance between all pillars of governance to strengthen democracy. At the 6th Commonwealth Parliamentary Association Conference in Patna, calls for lawmakers to work 24/7 for public cause. Stage set for Tripura Assembly elections on Sunday, voting for 59 of the 60 seats to take place. BJP posing tough fight to ruling Left Front government that's aiming for a record 6th term. Congress looks for a comeback despite infighting. And CBI arrests 2 officials of the Punjab National Bank and 1 official of jeweller Nirav Modi's company in connection with the over 11,000 crore rupee fraud case. Reserve Bank of India assessing the control systems at the bank, while market regulator SEBI launches a probe into the bank's trading. All details ahead, but first, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is holding talks with the visiting Iranian President Hassan Rouhani in Delhi at the moment. The talks are being held at Hyderabad House in the national capital, and the focus is on trade, regional security and connectivity, including the strategically important Chabahar port. The two sides are also looking at inking a number of pacts in several key areas, apart from exploring the scope of cooperation in fields such as health and traditional medicine. The exchange of agreements will take place in a short while once the talks are over. India and Iran have robust economic and commercial ties covering many sectors, though it has traditionally been dominated by the import of Iranian crude oil by India. Earlier today, the visiting dignitary was accorded a ceremonial reception at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Hassan Rouhani is on a 3-day visit to the country and will be meeting the President and Vice President later today. Well, our Foreign Affairs editor Akhilesh Suman is tracking those developments and the talks that are going on at the moment between the Prime Minister and the Iranian President. Akhilesh, good afternoon. What are the indications at the moment? Anything that we have learned on what the talks are focusing upon?
Yeah, good afternoon, Tracy. This is an interesting and very important visit because Iran has been sanctioned by US and still India is having the commercial and trade ties with Iran. So this is in a way that again, you know, that it is a balancing of our diplomatic ties with countries and we are not influenced by any other country. So this is also again a testimony of India's foreign policy. Another thing that is most important, Tracy, is that personalization of Chabahar port. Because till now, though we have got access to Chabahar port, our things are going from Chabahar to Afghanistan. But operationalization rights are there with Iranian side. And Iranian side and Indian side are talking that how it can come under the India's control so that the whole port can be operationalized by India. So this is a very serious talk, and President Rouhani is here, and that is one of the major agendas between India and Iran, and that will give access to the whole Central Asian countries, and also the road will go to Europe. So this is one of the major projects of India at a time when you see that Chinese are making roads everywhere and anywhere. So I think this is again you can say that this is again a sample of India's foreign policy that is reaching out to the Muslim world. Because see that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has visited Palestine, then UAE, Oman, and he went to Jordan also. These are all the Middle Eastern countries which has been very influential, and they are very important for our energy needs. So I think this is a major talk that is going to be. And another thing that is the Rupee and Iranian currency. So we will pay everything in the Rupee, and we can also invest in Rupee in Iran. So that is also one of the major issues that will be talked about. Yes. And I think that will be decided in this meeting, Tracy.
Absolutely. If I understand correctly, then Nepal and Bhutan are the other countries that India deals with in rupees as well. You were, of course, talking about the energy resources that we can, of course, gain from Iran. And earlier, before the talks with the Prime Minister, the President of Iran, Hassan Rouhani, did express willingness to share Iran's oil and gas resources. also, in fact, offering to simplify visa norms. Has that been an issue between both countries, and how would that, of course, help?
Yeah, actually, so the visa simplification is one of the major things that if you increase trade with any country, visa becomes a major impediment. And India and Iran are going to talk about it, and I think that a visa simplification protocol may be signed after the talks are over. And that Iranians have been very good cultural ties with India. Lots of Parsis are living here, and President Rouhani has also met them yesterday in Hyderabad. And in Delhi also he will meet the Parsi community people. So it is like creating a bonhomie of cultures. And Iran has been culturally very tired. It is also told that Iran has been the center of Aryan culture, and in India also we think ourselves to the lineage of Aryan culture. So in that way also we are trying to connect, and Iranians are also trying to connect with India as its largest democracy. So it will give credence to Iran also, and it will give India access to the countries, especially in the Gulf countries, for our trade, for our diplomatic understanding with each other at a time when terrorism is one of the major issues that is impeding the development in the whole world. And you know that Prime Minister, whenever he talks to any dignitary, he also talks that terrorism is a major impediment and problem in developmental initiatives anywhere and everywhere in the world. So this is going to be a great talk between India and Iran.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to, of course, the signing of the documents that will take place in a short while from now. And of course, we hope to hear from both the leaders as well. We'll keep track of those developments with you, Akhilesh. Suman, thank you so much for joining us for the moment. Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will arrive in India today on a 7-day visit. It will be Trudeau's first visit to India as Prime Minister. And the aim of the visit is to expand overall ties between the two countries with a focus on defense and security, counter-terror operations, trade and investment, and tackling climate change. Both sides are also expected to deliberate on enhancing cooperation in civil nuclear sector. India is also likely to raise the issue of revival of Sikh radicalism in Canada and the presence of supporters of the Khalistan movement in Trudeau's cabinet. A number of key ministers in Trudeau's cabinet, including the defense, foreign, sports and trade, will be part of his delegation. Ahead of the visit, national security advisors of India and Canada met and prepared the ground for Trudeau and Prime Minister Narendra Modi to expand the defense and security ties. Trudeau will hold talks with Prime Minister Modi on the 23rd of February in Delhi. Besides his engagements in Delhi, Trudeau will also be visiting Agra, Ahmedabad, Mumbai and Amritsar. The next day, he is scheduled to address a conference of young change makers before wrapping up his visit. And ahead of his visit, Trudeau tweeted, "Wheels up for India," and a busy visit focused on creating good jobs and strengthening the deep connection between the people of our two countries. In other news, Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan has called for lawmakers to work 24/7 for public causes. Addressing the inaugural function of the 6th India Region Conference of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, Mahajan, who is the chairperson of the CPA's India region, called lawmakers to work for long-term sustainable development. Mahajan also said that development does not belong to any political party and that environmental protection must be top priority for lawmakers. Earlier, Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar also spoke on the occasion. He urged Lok Sabha Speaker to pressure MPs to pass the Women's Reservation Bill. Represented by presiding officers of various legislative bodies across the country, the CPA Meet is an important calendar event that marks a meeting point for top policy makers. About 24 speakers and chairmen of various legislative assemblies and legislative councils are taking part in the meet. Patna is hosting an international meet of this kind for the first time ever. Heads of legislative bodies of a few countries, including Tonga and Australia, are also taking part in the 4-day conference.
बिहार में जितनी भी सेवाएं, हर प्रकार की नौकरी में महिलाओं को 35% आरक्षण दिया जाएगा और इसको भी हम लोगों ने लागू कर दिया। तो यह सब काम तो हम लोग कर रहे हैं। जलवायु परिवर्तन, अब अगर नर नारी समता की बात है, अब मैं तो कहूंगा, अब ये तो सब पार्लियामेंट के लोग हैं यहां पर बैठे हुए, पार्लियामेंट के लोग बैठे हुए हैं, मैं तो ये कहूंगा कि अब जब तक पार्लियामेंट में और लेजिस्लेचर में महिलाओं के आरक्षण का कानून पास करके संविधान में प्रावधान आप नहीं करेंगे तो नारी सशक्तिकरण की दिशा में ठोस कदम नहीं उठ सकता।
इसमें बातचीत करने के लिए आज हम यहाँ पर बैठेंगे और उसमें आप सबको मालूम है कि किस प्रकार से सबका सहयोग लेके हो सकता है। ये काम केवल ऐसा नहीं कि कुछ कानून बनाए तो बात हो गई। आज
And now let's take you through all the news coming in from the northeast states that are going to polls. Well, polls for 59 assembly seats of the 60-member Tripura Assembly will be held on Sunday. The election in Tripura's Charilam Assembly seat, which was postponed following the death of CPIM candidate, will be held on the 12th of March. The Left Front has been ruling the state since 1978, except for 5 years between 1988 and 1993. 296 candidates, including 20 women, are in the fray for the 18th February Tripura Assembly polls. The ruling CPIM had fielded 57 candidates, leaving 1 seat each to its Left Front partners, the Communist Party of India, Forward Bloc and Revolutionary Socialist Party. The BJP is contesting on 51 seats. It has left 9 seats for its ally, the Indigenous People's Front of Tripura. Congress candidates have fielded nominations in 59 of the state's 60 constituencies. Trinamool Congress has nominated 24 candidates. And ahead of the Tripura Assembly polls, security arrangements are in place along the Indo-Bangladesh border, with BSF keeping a close vigil. Speaking to Rajya Sabha television, Chief Electoral Officer of Tripura, Sriram Tarakanti, said that the security forces have been asked to intensify patrolling to thwart untoward incidents. He also said that Indian voters living in the other side of the barbed wire fencing along the border would be able to exercise their franchise without any problem.
Joining me is the Chief Electoral Officer of Tripura, Mr. Tarakanti. Welcome to Rajya Sabha television, sir. There are allegations that political parties are unleashing violence. There are allegations of intimidation. Tell me, how would you ensure that free and fair elections take place?
First and foremost, we are making adequate security measures. We have got a large contingent of CAPF forces here. And in addition to that, we have our state forces and the state Tripura State Rifles as well. So we are having a very good grid of security all over the state. So that will ensure the security measures are well taken forward. In addition to that, we have about 52 observers which have been deputed by Election Commission of India to oversee the election process. And about 90% of our polling booths are also covered, polling station locations are also covered with micro observers from the central government. In addition to that, we have also given massive training to all stakeholders. We have sensitized the political parties, and we are gearing up our administrative machinery in such a manner that we will be able to conduct this free and fair polls. We also have a mechanism by which, in case of any event, we will be able to reach out to various sector officers, police sector officers, civil sector officers, the micro observers, and so several others, and the DOs and CEOs are there. CEOs, even my office will be able to manage, we will be getting to know what is going to happen. We are also having excellent webcasting facilities by which we will be able to see in each and every booth what is going on, and we will be able to intervene if the need is there.
Long years of insurgency and politically aware voters. In 2013 also, we saw the voter turnout was around 93%. What are your expectations this time around?
We are expecting a similar kind of a turnout. We are giving a lot of confidence to all the voters that they should come freely and vote. The people of Tripura are politically aware. They value their vote. They will come forward, and we expect that they would vote in a fair manner.
On to more national news, and the CBI has arrested 2 officials of the Punjab National Bank in connection with the over 11,000 crore rupee fraud case. One of the employees arrested is now retired. The authorized signatory of suspect Nirav Modi's company has also been held by the central agency. On Friday, taking action in connection with the multi-crore fraud involving Punjab National Bank, The External Affairs Ministry has suspended the passports of suspects Nirav Modi and his business partner Mehul Choksi. The Income Tax Department has also attached 21 bank accounts of Nirav Modi's company. The CBI has lodged a fresh FIR against Modi's company and approached Interpol to locate the duo.
The External Affairs Ministry on Friday suspended the passports of Nirav Modi and his business partner Mehul Choksi, the main suspects in the Punjab National Bank fraud case, for 4 weeks. The ministry gave them a week to respond why their passports should not be revoked.
If they fail to respond within the stipulated time, then we will go ahead with the revocation. This gentleman is not in touch with any of our officials, any of our ME officials, and frankly at this stage we are not aware about his location.
The Enforcement Directorate meanwhile continued searches to collect more evidence against Nirav Modi. It also summoned Modi and Choksi in connection with its money laundering probe in the 11,400 crore rupees alleged fraud in PNB. The notices were handed over to the directors for their firms. The CBI also registered a fresh FIR against Choksi and Nirav Modi following a complaint from Punjab National Bank and approached the Interpol with a request to locate them. The agency also carried out searches at 26 places across India after naming 3 companies in a fresh FIR. They also questioned 4 PNB officials in this connection. SBI said it had an exposure of 1,360 crore rupees with respect to a letter of undertaking that PNB issued to Nirav Modi, but doesn't have any direct exposure to the absconding jewellery designer. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the Reserve Bank of India and market regulator SEBI have stepped up the probe into the 11,400 crore rupee fraud at PNB. The RBI has warned of appropriate supervisory action, saying it is assessing the control systems at the bank. Market regulator SEBI has launched a probe into trading and disclosure-related issues of the state-owned bank. Meanwhile, the Indian Banks Association has convened a meeting today to deliberate the ramifications of the scam. Chartered Accountants Apex body ICAI has also taken suo motu cognizance of the fraud and has sought information from investigation agencies. The RBI has denied media reports that it had directed PNB to meet its commitments under the letters of undertaking to other banks. And on to the Kaveri water verdict, and discussions are still continuing among farmers and residents of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu after the Supreme Court on Friday gave a solution to the long-standing Kaveri water dispute. Pronouncing its verdict on the decades-old dispute, the Apex Court said that no state can claim exclusive ownership of the interstate river water and ruled that Karnataka will now get an additional 14.75 TMC feet of water. The verdict was welcomed by the centre in Karnataka, but Tamil Nadu said that it was disappointed.
A 3-member bench of the Supreme Court on Friday increased the allocation of Kaveri river water to Karnataka by 14.75 thousand million cubic feet. The verdict states that Karnataka will now release 177.25 thousand million cubic feet to Tamil Nadu instead of 192,000 million cubic feet awarded by the Kaveri Water Dispute Tribunal.
Both the states should be a reason, there is a reason for both the states to be happy. The Karnataka has a special reason to be happy because our liability has been reduced by 14.25 TMC. The drinking water requirement of Bangalore have been fully protected at the moment.
Out of a total 740 TMC feet, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala and Puducherry will now be annually entitled to 404.25 TMC feet, 284.75 TMC feet, 30 TMC feet and 7 TMC feet of Kaveri water respectively. The court didn't make any change in water allocation to Kerala and Puducherry. In addition to this, 10,000 million cubic feet of water will be used for environment protection and 4 TMC feet will be kept for inevitable leakages into the sea.
No, please. Now the Honorable Supreme Court has taken a view. That's all. Now we must find out ways and means to rectify any grievances through legal means.
The bench has granted 6 weeks to the centre to come up with a scheme to ensure compliance of its 465-page judgment. It also ordered setting up of a Kaveri Water Board to look into the timely release of the water to all parties. The verdict will remain in force for 15 years. The centre has welcomed the Apex Court's verdict.
वो शासन के ऊपर बंधनकारक है सभी राज्यों ने इस निर्णय का आदर करना चाहिए। भारत सरकार की ओर से इसके बाद में भी जहां पानी की तीव्र समस्या आएगी, सूखा आएगा, तो चर्चा पर हम लोग इस समस्या को सुलझाने की कोशिश करेंगे।
On September 20th last year, the bench reserved its verdict on the matter. The long-awaited judgment comes on appeals filed by Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala against the 2007 award of the Kaveri Water Dispute Tribunal. It said the increase in share of Kaveri water for Karnataka by 14.75 thousand million cubic feet was in keeping with groundwater of 10,000 million cubic feet and 4.75 thousand million cubic feet drinking water requirements of Bengaluru residents. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
And in some international news, the Russian Foreign Ministry has dismissed the indictments of 13 Russians by the United States for meddling in the US presidential race. This comes after the 13 Russians and 3 Russian companies were charged with an elaborate plot to interfere in the 2016 US presidential election through social media propaganda. The indictment arises from Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian interference in the election. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has said that a new round of indictments in the investigation has showed that the campaign did nothing wrong and proved there was no collusion with Russia. Taking to Twitter, the US President tweeted, and I quote, "Russia started their anti-US campaign in 2014, long before I announced that I would run for president. The results of the election were not impacted. The Trump campaign did nothing wrong, no collusion," unquote.
A grand jury in the District of Columbia today returned an indictment presented by the Special Counsel's Office. The indictment charges 13 Russian nationals and 3 Russian companies for committing federal crimes while seeking to interfere in the United States political system, including the 2016 presidential election. The defendants allegedly conducted what they called information warfare against the United States, with the stated goal of spreading distrust towards the candidates and the political system in general.
And that's it on the Midday News. Thank you so much for joining us.